The Elsa Kurt Show with Clay Novak. Serving up trending news and conservative views. Brought to you by the Elsa Kurt Collection. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
Well, hello, everybody. Hello, Clay. How are you today?
I'm good. Nice to be back after a little hiatus. Nice to be back with you and back with the audience.
Yeah, it feels good to be back. I'm sure you all noticed that we were away last week. We had respective vacation plans and family busyness to attend to, but we are back and we are ready to rock and roll with all of the topics. We got a lot of stuff tonight.
We do. And listen, our audience is who they are. I mean, you guys are here because you want to hear our take on things. You've got your own take on things, but you're usually, you're pretty open-minded. Elsa and I love every week to get involved in the chat window, ask on YouTube or Facebook or wherever. And, we appreciate you all coming back. And we've got, what do we got? 5? We got 5 tonight?
I think we have 5. Yeah. We got some good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks to you, Clay. We've got some good stuff to talk about. If you guys are ready, we'll do a quick little break and we'll get right into it. Here we go.
Hey folks, Clay Novak here, author of the novel Keep Moving, Keep Shooting. So what I've got here is the Boo Boo 2.0 basic first aid kit. This is the one that you throw in your glove box, throw in the trunk of your car, keep in the house. It's got your Band-Aids, antiseptic wipes, those kinds of things for scrapes and cuts, and some more significant. There is a tourniquet in here. But Boo Boo 2.0, this is the kit that you need all the time. Again, refugemedical.com. You can find it there. Definitely a useful kit. Use the discount code KMKS at checkout. Get yourself 10% off. Refuge Medical, not only buy their equipment, but get their training. Refuge Medical offers training as well. Keep moving, keep shooting.
Spring is knocking. Ready to refresh your vibe? The Elsa Kurt Collection has everything from page-turning reads to eye-catching fashion, guaranteed to add a little sunshine to your season. Calling all statement makers, Elsa's pieces are designed to turn heads and bring confidence to your closet. But that's not all. Love a good book? Elsa's got your next favorite read waiting just for you. Don't miss Elsa's Amazon affiliate store, filled with hand-picked beauty treasures, home must-haves, and daily essentials. It's like a personal shopping spree made easy. Make this spring your season. Shop the Elsa Kurt Collection today and let the fun begin.
Oh my goodness. Well, the Tesla situation has not decreased at all. It's still insane. And we're not talking about rising car prices or EV tax credits. We're talking about the actual orchestrated violence and attacks against Elon Musk's Tesla brand stars. Obviously it's because it's his, but attacking other people's vehicles is really what it comes down to. And I think it's kind of ironic, Clay, I don't know about you, but I think it's kind of ironic that the predominant buyer of Teslas have been left-leaning people. So they're torching and keying and, vandalizing each other's vehicles. The stupidity, right?
Yeah, listen, I've seen it. You've probably seen it too. There's actual pictures out there where the, owners will take one of those like soap markers, like kids write on happy graduation or happy birthday, and they'll write on the window, purchased in 2020, before, owner is a Democrat, whatever, and just to try and protect themselves. But, it would make sense, and I'm not advocating obviously for any of this, but it would make sense, the attack on the dealerships and the dealerships only.
Right.
The attack on the charging stations doesn't make any sense. And the attack on personally owned vehicles certainly doesn't make any sense. And I understand the Cybertruck, seems to be catching the bulk of it because it's the newest model. But that truck came out during the Biden administration. Most of those were pre-ordered and were in the possession of the owner before President Trump was in office, before Elon was was running Doge. So you're right. They're beating each other up. They're causing each other heartache. And it's over just this lashing, this very, very immature lashing out that makes no sense at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's the typical response and reaction that they tend to have. And of course, I'm generalizing, but I mean, it's pretty stinking accurate. So here's the thing, though, like as usual, like the left run media downplays it, barely talks about it, and treats it as if it's like isolated incidents, right? And now Elon Musk himself is coming out and saying that he actually knows who is behind. I don't know if this is him, trying to scare, it's a scare tactic, or if he really knows. I don't personally know, but now he's saying, oh, I know who's behind it and we're coming for him. So, these are orchestrated attacks from somebody with obviously a lot of money. And of course, my mind goes right to Soros, or Soros backed, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, a lot of it is, lefty crazy. They still haven't figured out that every one of these vehicles has 7 cameras or 9 cameras on it. You can't sneak up on it. You can't scuff it, dent it, key it, which seems to be the predominant thing, although there has been some spray paint and some other more permanent, kind of stuff. But those, you can't escape that stuff. But it seems that people that keep getting caught are the low-hanging fruit. They're the dumbest ones that haven't figured that stuff out yet. But the bigger stuff, the burn down dealerships, the attacks on the charging stations, there's even people now that are test driving them and really putting them through some painful paces when they're test driving and doing damage to them as part of the test drive.
Wow.
And that is the kind of stuff that you're talking about. And everybody's mind, anybody with a half a brain goes to Soros because, it's laundered 4 ways from Sunday. It's Soros's money and it goes to somebody else and then it gets to Antifa and then Antifa finds somebody and they pay them. And, so it's all of those methods that we saw, 2020, during COVID and George Floyd and all of that stuff. This is the same thing.
Right. Oh, absolutely. These are, the predominantly paid agitators who, I don't know if they get bailed out afterwards or not, but they're probably getting paid what they consider to be a reasonable sum of money to do these things. And you're absolutely right. You watch those videos, those camera videos from the Teslas and I'm going to try not to be overly mean, but the people that are doing this and then getting confronted after. I saw
love it,
right? Did you see the one the other day? It was an elderly guy, and yes, yeah.
Had the exact same jacket on.
Did you just key a Tesla the other day?
What?
You're on video. Yeah. This is the guy. You just keyed a Tesla. You got a video online. I just saw it. It's all over the fucking face. The media. Yes, you did. You keyed a Tesla in a parking lot somewhere around here. What do you got to say about that?
I didn't do that.
Well, you're on video. I said I plainly saw you doing it. You pulled up
from He's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
What? Like, you're on camera. How do you not know this at this point, at least? Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. I think those are definitely like the low hanging fruit, people who just don't, they're just reactive people. They, the media and the leftist, the Democrats, we'll call them, because that's what that party is now. They're just all leftist people for the most part. They say, be angry. And they're like, okay, I'm angry. What am I angry about? Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just be angry and, do destructive things because you told me to.
It's unfortunately, though, it's escalating. I say that it's escalating to the individual owner. So that they had the dealership that got attacked, that got firebombed, right? A bunch of cars got burned on that. That person got arrested already. Mm-hmm. And then you had the other one. I don't know if you saw this, like the front of the dealership, they came out with paintball guns, plastered it with a bunch of like maroon colored paint. Mm-hmm. But what you're having now, and this is where things are going to get very, very dangerous, is that you've got, protesters. I don't know another word other than lunatics.
Yeah.
You've got these lunatics and they're attacking people on the roadway. It's a road rage situation. Yes. So they're cutting them off. They're kind of leaning into them in traffic. They're doing all those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. Right. And thankfully nothing has escalated to a point of real violence yet. But as this continues, if this doesn't get brought under control, that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have a conservative concealed carry holder who has got a gun in his or her vehicle who gets rammed on the highway. Mm-hmm. And then they pull over and a lunatic jumps out of their vehicle to attack them because they drive a Tesla, and somebody's going to get hurt. It's going to, and I mean, there's going to be a fatality. somebody is going to get shot over this. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong, and I mean, I don't know what the deterrent is, because I think they're already getting charged. These are felony charges. I don't know if they can and are charging every time they catch somebody, if they're charging them with domestic terrorism. If they can, they should. Other than that, I don't know. But I keep hearing the term felony charges against vandalizing these vehicles, because I think it's because they're escalating it to being domestic terrorism, which it is. It is 100%. I don't care who disagrees with me. This is domestic terrorism. It's organized, politically motivated, organized attacks, and I mean, prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. It's the only deterrent I can think of, that might have some kind of impact, unless they're getting bailed out by, Soros-backed actors.
Yeah, and you're right. So there's no deterrent right now. And again, it continues to escalate, which I hate to keep saying this, but it is going to escalate to the point of a fatality here sooner or later. But you touched on it before. And I think the biggest thing is that no one in the media and no one on the left from their political leadership is saying, stop doing this.
Right.
No, there is no, hey, enough is enough. Hey, we understand you're frustrated. Hey, don't do this. Nobody is saying that out loud. The media is certainly not saying it, right? And then, of course, the Democratic leadership is certainly not saying it. So when you don't have that, you don't have that example being set, you don't have that leadership quality that says, okay, this is absurd. We've had enough of this. I know you're mad. Stop doing it. None of that is happening. So this is just going to keep going. And again, it's going to turn in something tragic is going to happen, and it's going to be pretty bad.
Right. And, and even worse than them not condemning the actions and the behavior, they are absolutely fueling the fire and spurring them on. I mean, they're, you got your Cory Bookers, who we're going to be talking about shortly, and your Jasmine Crockett's and your AOC's and, all of these, flaming idiots encouraging. And don't forget Maxine Waters, who's always shaking her bony finger at somebody, telling them to, interrupt their dinners and don't let them rest and go to their homes and all of the things. They're not just ignoring it, they're encouraging it, which is actually even worse. Gone are the days where, politicians would like, whoa, our leaders, when you can have these opposing views, you can get pretty nasty and spicy about it. But when it crossed the line into violence and destruction and, riots and all of these things, there was a time, I know nobody can actually remember it anymore because it's so far back in our history now. There was a time when, they'd go, whoa, okay, hang on. Everybody's got to calm down. Rein it in. Let's keep this civil, and that is not happening. And I find that to be, truly the most appalling part of all of it. That the people who are supposed to be leading by example for our country are behaving the way they're doing, and I just want to see stern consequence for it, and I feel like we're not seeing it. We're getting a lot of finger wagging. I want to see Mike Johnson do more censuring of these people, and I know I'm kind of drifting off a little bit on this one, but this is kind of where it stems from, because this is who's part of encouraging this kind of behavior.
Yeah, and really there are so many consequences to this that aren't being considered. All of these people that are conducting this, domestic terrorism. I won't even say vandalism, because it's not. You are 100% right. This is domestic terrorism. Oh, by the way, Attorney General Pam Bondi says the same thing, right?
That's right, she does.
Yeah. So these people I don't know if they're thinking through this. I don't know if they even care. But as soon as you are a felon, which is what this turns into, you can't vote anymore. So that's gone, right? Your earning potential goes down significantly, right? There's a lot. You can be as upset as you want about this. You don't like President Trump, you don't like Elon Musk, but as soon as you venture into this criminality, which is what's going on, this is not protesting, right? This is not peaceful protesting. No. You are ending portions of your life, whether you agree with it or not. That's going to happen. So the consequences, like you say, I don't think people are really realizing how severe they can be. The problem is they're also not instantaneous. With court, our justice system, the way that it works, it does take time and these sorts of things. Some of these people aren't going to get prosecuted and know the end game or the end state of all of this for a year, maybe two, right? Appeals will last a long time. But they're going to lose a lot, especially the people caught on tape.
Yes.
There is no recourse for that. You can't, there's no getting around that. It's not a case of mistaken identity. Case in point, the bald guy with the jacket, literally wearing the same clothes, literally.
Right. Yes.
So yeah, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, they are hurting Elon Musk, not necessarily by the vandalism for the cars and even the vandalism for the dealership. The other piece component to this is, Tesla stocks have dropped. Tesla purchases have dropped.
Right.
And with the stocks, I saw this just yesterday, there is a component inside of Hollywood where people are buying the stock and then selling it at a much lower price, driving the price down. So they are purposely tanking the value of Tesla itself,
right.
As a form of political protest. I would much rather have them do that, right, than the violent part of it, right?
Yeah.
Doing that is the same thing as not buying Budweiser. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as all of those other, stop shopping at Target. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a little more dastardly, I think, but it's a nonviolent protest to Elon Musk and his company. Okay, fine. It is what it is. But that's much better than burning down dealerships and, potentially hurting people and all that stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. All of it is disgusting. And I do agree. If you're going to do it, if you're going to make your statement and your protest, you do, it's like all of those things. You do it with your wallet, you do it with your vote, you do it in a civilized, just be civilized. That's all. I mean, I don't have to agree with what they're doing by any means. And I honestly do. And I don't know about you, and I know some people will balk at the idea of like feeling bad for Elon Musk because he is a multi-billionaire and he's going to be perfectly fine. But on the emotional level, on the humanity level, I mean, this guy was their darling. Like he was beloved by the left. And because he changed his mind on something, this is what he gets, and that's a cautionary tale to every single public figure on the left. I mean, pay attention to what they're doing to this guy, because say something out of line, get one little fraction out of lockstep, and this is what they do to you. I mean, that anyone would want to be associated with that party and that mentality is beyond me. Absolutely beyond.
And you've got the people who don't consider or refuse to consider the other things that he does and has been doing. I've actually, Charlie Kirk, I love watching the Charlie Kirk clips.
I love him.
But, you've got a lot of people that will, a lot of college kids will take their 30 seconds of fame and talk about how, well, Elon doesn't do it. It's all his employees. It's all, it's all this, it's all that. But you even have, like the ladies on The View were like, I don't know. I don't understand why we even have SpaceX. Like we have NASA. They don't even understand that NASA has not sent a manned mission to space since 2011, right? It's been 14 years since NASA did that.
Right.
Everything else that's been done has been through NASA, but NASA has not launched anything manned into space in 14 years. So, Elon has the capability. SpaceX has the capability. Oh, by the way, the Starlink. We could talk about Starlink. For all of that. Right. Oh, by the way, those that are supporting the war in Ukraine, he's provided them satellite communication. So it's this hatred for Elon. It's guilt by association. And you're right. They turned their backs on him because he decided to go the opposite political direction, changing nothing else.
Yeah.
Tesla hasn't changed. SpaceX hasn't changed. The only thing he did was he bought X and he let President Trump back on X.
Yeah.
But other than that, his businesses have not changed.
No.
And they still hate him.
Yeah. And they don't even get that they are the ones that pushed him.
Yeah.
To make this reevaluation. And it's so crazy too when you think about it, right? Like you're talking about like one of the smartest guys alive, and innovator, creator, all of these things. They idolized him. And it baffles me that they wouldn't go, the guy that I idolize and think is one of the smartest humans on our planet right now, he's changing his mind about something. Gee, maybe I should reevaluate and think about it and see, what he's talking about. And instead they're just like, no, the switch goes off and they're like, Elon bad, just like Orange Man bad, Elon bad. it's so bizarre to me how controlled they are by the media. But by the media, I mean, it's by the media. That is 100%. Politicians, I mention them all the time because they're part of it too. But man, oh man, the power that the media has over these people is mind blowing.
Yep. And that's, again, they're not speaking out against the attacks on Tesla. They're not speaking about period. I even the reporting on them is minimal. So, it's Elon's bad, Musk is bad. He's associated with Trump is bad. Oh, by the way, he owns Tesla. And then they move on to something else, right? And that's how all of this works. And again, it's orchestrated at multiple echelons. It does. I firmly believe it starts with Soros and it works its way down. The money's being moved around, it's being laundered, and that's how those things. And then the bail's being paid, and lawyer fees are being paid, and all that other stuff. So, everything that President Trump does, everything that's associated with him, every person that is associated with him is a horrible human being. There's no respite there. But that's the party of love.
Love and tolerance. Love is love. Be kind, coexist. Every slogan, cliche, bumper sticker.
All there.
All them. And also the same people that I and as you well know, I certainly would call myself a victim by any means, but I am a recipient of that type of hate and disgust and contempt from them, just for having my opinions. That's it. It's all you do. Just have an opinion that doesn't go along with theirs, and they will come after you. And I see people on the right, conservative voices who are very moderate in their delivery, like they're actually very kind in the way that they relay the information, but because the information that they're relaying or sharing or truths that they're sharing don't align with what they think, they just rip them to shreds and of course dox them. You're talking about people who will expose where you live, who your family members are, attack your children on social media. You're dealing with people who, for whatever reasons, are beyond unhinged, and it is scary. And I totally get why people choose not to get involved, but this is, and I've gone back to this many times over the years, that, this is why we're at where we're at. You cannot allow them to just dominate the narrative like this all the time. And it's not, the pushback is so here. I mean, we are living in the pushback now, which is phenomenal, but my goodness, I certainly understand why people won't.
Yeah, but it's the narrative, switching topics. The narrative has been, through the entire last administration, well, it takes this and well, it takes that. Nothing moves that fast, right? And President Trump, when he talked to the joint session of Congress, talked about it with the border. And it was that was the absolute mic drop moment of the night.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
And here we are.
Here we are. And it's all happening. And, just like you said, with the border crossing alone, it is just phenomenal. It's unbelievable. What's the number? I think the number is it's down 94%. 94%. Is that right?
Yep. It's the lowest it's been in decades, and it's down 94% from last year. Oh, by the way, there is also now reverse border crossing paid for. The coyotes, for those of you that don't know, right? Those are the guides. Those are paid. Those are the people that know where the tunnels are. They know where the crossing points are. They know all of those things, and they get paid to move people across the border. They are now being paid to bring people back to Mexico.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Because people would rather pay that fee than the potential fines that come with being here illegally. Right. So they have, Border Patrol knows this is happening, that people are paying to move back across the border. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. And of course, if you were to listen to what the left-run media is saying, it's because the weather. It's the weather. Really? Like the crossings are down because the weather, like that
Yeah.
is how hateful, spiteful, and beyond resistant to crediting the Trump administration with anything
Can't do it.
whatsoever. It's nothing that has to do with, the policies and Trump's stance on this and the border patrol agents being able to do their jobs now. It's the weather. Yeah. I can't even stand them, Clay.
Well, and so they're we're taking steps that the previous administration and even President Trump didn't take in this administration, right? So the wall's getting finished, right? And it's going quickly.
Right.
But they're also they moved active duty and National Guard military units to reinforce and help Border Patrol. And there are people out there who will say, well, you're not supposed to use active duty military forces domestically, in the continental United States, blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
Yes, pos comitatus, I understand all that, believe me, but they're not being used for that, right? What they're doing is they're bolstering, they're backing up, they're allowing, they're filling gaps, essentially is what they're doing, right? There's nothing illegal about putting soldiers in I hate to say in a picket line, but that's basically what it boils down to.
Right.
All strung out across the border at the crossing sites, and they can stand there and not do anything except tell Border Patrol, hey, there's one over there. And then Border Patrol goes and they arrest them. And that's it. That's all they're doing. Aviation's doing the same thing. They send helicopters down there, all kinds of stuff.
So explain that a little bit to me. So you can't use troops essentially, but it's like you can't use them against American citizens.
Correct.
Which is like a matter of course, but they're using them against illegal aliens. So they still can't physically actively do anything other than point them out. Am I understanding that?
They have no arrest authority.
Okay.
So, even when I was deployed multiple times, all of us, GWAT veterans, we would have interactions and we would know through bio data, whether it's fingerprints or retina scans or whatever, we would run across known criminal terrorists.
Wow.
Right. And we had Coast Guardsmen with us because Coast Guardsmen have arrest authority.
Yeah.
They are sworn officers of the law. They can arrest people. Active duty soldiers, unless you're a military police officer, don't have that option. We don't have that ability. So they're not, they're being used to bolster BPS. They're letting BPS do the work along with whatever other federal agencies are down there helping. But they don't have arrest. I don't even think they have detention authority. And really, you don't want them getting involved with that. That was actually a big discussion a few years ago. My hometown city of Chicago, the murder rate had gotten so bad they were talking about putting armed soldiers on street corners, which is a horrible idea.
Right.
But now they can be National Guardsmen and be given those types of authorities from their governor.
Okay.
Right.
So only National Guardsmen.
National Guardsmen, because they're owned by the state.
Okay.
But as soon as they're federalized, as soon as the federal government takes control, they don't have that ability anymore.
Okay. And I agree. That makes perfect sense. That is not something we want. That sets a precedent that can be easily abused.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to literally British redcoats being housed in people's houses, colonial days like that. Right. It goes all the way back to pre-Revolutionary War kind of stuff. There's a reason for all of it, and for good reason. So they're down there, they're augmenting BPS, but they're allowing those folks to do their jobs, which is all part of why, as our headline says at the bottom, the border crossings are down, right? They're catching, the interactions are lower because everybody knows, don't come here anymore.
Right.
The gravy train's over with. You're not getting free stuff. And at the same time, BPS is they're being allowed to do their job and they're arresting more people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So you and I are kind of the same in that we look at, pretty much all of these topics and everything on a intellectual, factual, practical, common sense way. And, the people on the left, I feel like I'm a broken record saying the people on the left, but I apologize. I can call them tons of different things, but this is where we are. That group of people always look at everything on the emotional level, right? The feelings level. So like
when it benefits them.
Yeah.
Benefits them.
Yeah. Excellent point. Yeah, that's so true. And, right now it benefits them to be so sympathetic to these poor, what do they call them? Undocumented migrants, illegal aliens.
Yeah.
And they drum up the whole, you're separating families, they've been here and they work and they pay taxes and they do. That's who they focus on and hyper focus on, not the fact that they are getting rid of, the Trump administration is getting rid of, rapists, murderers, gang members, violent criminals. That's who they're getting rid of, and quite frankly, if you are in this country illegally, whether you're a great guy or a terrific woman, if you're in this country illegally, there needs to be a consequence for that. And sure, it is sad when you think about a family who's been here, forever and ever. But the flip side of that is, how many years did you have to do things right? Like, you had the opportunities.
Yeah.
No, it's not easy. No one is suggesting that it's easy. But it is the process. And for people who are either legal immigrants or are the children and grandchildren of legal immigrants who did everything the right way, the hard way, that sympathy factor doesn't wash. So what would you say to somebody? I'm curious, what would you say to somebody that came to you with that argument and said, these poor people, like Trump's border policies are just cruel and inhumane. Like, would you just tell them?
I would tell them, and I have told them, because I've had come to me with that. Just like you, I have the same type of, interactions with people with opposing viewpoints. And, I had a discussion with somebody about a husband and wife, been here for 30 years, still weren't citizens. And they tried to justify, the process is too hard. No, it's not. It's not. No, I don't buy it. You'll never convince me of it. No way. So right. I have no sympathy for somebody who's been here for 30 years, still doesn't have their citizenship, and deport them. Right. Yeah. The truth is not being told in so many of these cases. There's another one that's out there right now where all the headline is that a dad, I think he's from Maryland, right? Somewhere in maybe not Maryland, but no, it is Maryland. He got, wrongfully deported, and now the administration can't find him and bring him back. Well, he didn't, and all it says is like a dad. And the reality is he was involved in human trafficking. He was a known member of, I think, MS-13. He had a warrant out for his arrest, right? So yes, he was, he had a green card. Okay, but he violated law. So sorry, got to go, right? No, he wasn't an illegal immigrant. He wasn't. He had a green card. He was doing but he violated the law. Get out, right? Same thing. But again, these people, the left manipulates the system. They try to manipulate your emotions. They separating families. They don't talk about the 300,000 kids that we talked about a few weeks ago who got lost in the system. They don't talk about them.
Where's their horror and outrage over that? Because that, to me, is one of the most horrific things. We were talking about hundreds of thousands of children gone. Nobody knows nobody can account for where they are. These are kids that were loaded onto cargo planes in the middle of the night and dropped off in, upstate New York, in the dead of night, and trekked out into the woods basically, and just gone. Where's the outrage for that?
Yeah. And listen, again, it's all about manipulating emotions, and we're going to talk about the SecDef here in a minute, but this is part, right? He just, I don't know if you saw this. So he just got a new tattoo on the bottom of his bicep.
I did. Yeah.
Arabic. And I think it says infidel, or it says non-believer, or it says something like that. Right. Yeah. Which I hate to break it to people. I saw a whole bunch of those, throughout the years in global war on terror. Those things are everywhere. But the SecDef's got it on his arm, and everybody's like just blasting him. And oh, by the way, the same people are saying, well, and you've probably seen this too, just because they have MS-13 tattoos doesn't mean they're MS-13. Like that's not that's no proof of guilt. But the SecDef's got a tattoo. That means he hates Muslims. Yes. And it's like, so they'll use emotion, they'll anger, whatever it is, to try and get their way, and they just continue to look foolish.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only advice you can give to anyone on the right who is watching this and experiencing this and doesn't have the platform or the comfort level or even the knowledge base to fight back against them. I would tell you that the easiest thing you can do is to simply not engage with their emotional warfare. And, that's, if anybody could take something away from this, I would say it's got to be that, like, do not fall for the emotional blackmail and the warfare that they unleash on you. And I would love if I thought a single liberal or leftist would watch the show with a open mind. I would love to say to them, geez, can you just give discernment a try? Like, try a little bit to take the pause and say, wait a minute, how do I know that this is true and accurate? Does that make sense? How is that even possible? Like, question it just a little bit, and the thing that I do that I honestly dislike doing the most for show prep is going to read and watch what they are saying, what their perspective is, what their viewpoint is, because it's infuriating. But I take the time to know what it is so that I can dispute it. Like, I just wish they would. But there's a gross saying, something about wishing in one hand and something else in another, and right?
See which one fills up quicker.
Yes. Yeah.
And listen, you and I'm not a Hegseth fan. We've been saying this. I want him to be successful.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we could have had a show last week about the entire Signal thing.
Right.
We missed that. Sorry, folks. Oh, by the way, we haven't said it yet. It's Wednesday.
For us, it's Wednesday.
5:30 Eastern time we started recording. All right, we're about 38 or so minutes in. Okay, so it is Wednesday. But last week we could have talked about the sloppiness of the Signal, with the National Security Advisor, with the Vice President, and the Atlantic, and all of that. Okay, and I am one that was not Hegseth's. They're all responsible in the sense that they probably should have checked it who was on the list. Right.
Right. Sure.
We could talk about Signal. Signal's been around for quite a few years. I personally am, I have a Signal account. I've been on there for a while. I have talked sensitive, not classified, sensitive information on there a number of times. It is probably the most secure thing there is, but it is not for classified information. Oh, by the way, they didn't pass any classified information in that chat. However,
that's the kicker there.
It was sloppy, right? Yeah. And truthfully, I know people that probably would have got fired for doing exactly what they did. Okay. Right. But, Secretary Hegseth this week has now, his new thing is leveling the physical requirements for combat related jobs within the military.
Yeah.
And listen, this is one of the toughest nuts to crack. I would tell you that the military across all branches of service have been trying to figure this out for a while. And going back to the Obama administration, when President Obama said, you will open all jobs to females, the military at that point still had gender-based, sex-based standards for physical fitness. I can tell you throughout my entire career, when I first came in the Army's physical fitness test was push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. Every single category had a different, and age had a different standard for men and women. Okay. They revised that same fitness test about 99, 2000, somewhere in there. They flipped it over, commonsensically, the original one, the younger you were, the harder it was. And then as kids became fatter and slower and didn't do as much physical activity, they figured out that if you had been in the Army for 5 or 6 or 7 years, you were in better shape than most 18-year-olds. So there was a weird bell curve. But what they did do was, because males and females biologically have essentially the same core abdominal muscle structure and capability, there was one standard for sit-ups. There was no male female. There was one standard, right?
Just for sit-ups.
The run was different. Push-ups was different.
Interesting.
And then before I retired, the Army came out with this Army combat fitness test, which they kind of modeled after something the Marine Corps does, which was a little bit more of the lifting things, throwing things, obstacle course, kind of overall combat fitness, dragging heavy weight and that kind of stuff. The problem is that it's very difficult, even as an infantryman, to say these are the the physical fitness requirements to do your job. It's hard to put that in a box and say, these are the minimum requirements. And listen, folks, This is, from the Secretary of Defense's perspective, about males and females in combat roles.
Yeah.
Don't take it any other way. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I will tell you that I've been around a number of females in my time who could ruck, carry a heavy ruck. They could run. They could do all the things that I could do without question. Now, those are few and far between, but they are out there. Okay.
Yeah.
The hard part is to say, these are the requirements for the job. And then, oh, by the way, if anybody, whoever can meet those standards can be in.
Right.
Now, I will tell you, there's a lot of guys out there who can't meet those standards, and they're going to get their feelings hurt, and they're going to get their heart broken because they're not going to make it. The question is when you have anyone, male or female, doesn't matter who it is, they join the military, maybe they meet those standards during basic training or boot camp, then they get to their unit, they're there for maybe a year, and then they no longer meet that standard. So do they get fired? Do they get kicked out? Do you send them to another location? Do you give them a new job in the military? Oh, by the way, now you're spending more money to retrain them.
Right.
Like this is not as easy as, set a new standard. It's not that simple. Oh, by the way, he only gave the service chiefs 60 days to figure this out.
Oh,
They've been trying to figure this out for 25 years. They're not going to do it in 60 days.
Yeah. It just seems like such a matter of course, such a baseline expectation to say, yeah, absolutely. Men, women, doesn't matter. If you want to try this, if you want to join the military, you simply have to be able to fit the fitness standard that's required. This is the standard. Doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you can hit it, you're good. Like, it's so simple, but then of course they have to make everything more complicated and difficult because of feelings and being nice, right? We got to be nice.
That's part of it too. But again, this is very specific about combat roles, like things I used to do as an infantryman or special operations or whatever. Like, in the old days, they just literally drew a line and they said, women are not allowed to do these jobs because we're not going to spend the money to try and find the females that can. We're also we're not going to make, concessions for them for bathrooms and showers and billeting and, those kinds of things. That was the position. We're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And then President Obama opened that door, which, it's hard to close Pandora's box. But so now we're kind of caught in this thing where it's like, well, we're not telling them they can't arbitrarily. What we are telling them is they've got to meet these physical standards, which, oh, by the way, are going to be pretty arbitrary.
Yeah.
And if you're told to fix it in 60 days, there's no science behind that. That's an arbitrary fix.
Yes.
So, none of this stuff, it's not an easy fix. I don't envy the service chiefs because they're going to get jammed up on this in a hurry. And again, I think this is a bad optic and it's a bad look for the SecDef. It's a one of my big fears about him taking this job is he has a very narrow view and an even more narrow experience, and he's very biased, and he's also very inexperienced and uneducated as to how the military really works.
So is your biggest bone of contention with this that the 60 days or the ruling in general?
Well, I think what he told them to do was figure out what the physical standards are for those combat related jobs.
Okay.
That you could put 50 people in a room that have all been in the Army for 30 years, and you're going to get 50 different opinions on what the requirements are to do those jobs.
Okay.
So, and then, oh, by the way, you've got to go, well, it's one standard, but is it? Is it one standard? Okay, we're talking gender, but is it the same standard by age? Like me as an infantryman, I retired, I was 46 when I retired.
Right.
I'm not doing the same thing an 18-year-old's doing.
Sure.
So is it one standard all ages? Is it one standard by age groups? You know what I mean? Like, and again, if you've got somebody who doesn't meet the standard, do you just kick them out of the military? Do you kick them out of their job? Do you kick them? There's the question that he posed or the challenge that he made to the service chiefs seems very simple, but in practice, there are so many layers and levels to this. 60 days is an irrational number, but 2, this is like, you're talking about personnel decisions. You're talking about, this goes pretty deep. I think it was just not the way that this was done
Yeah.
I think, again, was a very immature way for the secretary to handle it. Should have been done if this is what he really wants, he should have done it very, very differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How can he backpedal from this? Because it sounds like he's going to need to backpedal to some degree. How is he going to be able to do that and save face?
I don't know, truthfully. And I think immediately following the Signal debacle, he kind of stepped in a little bit.
Yeah.
This is 2 missteps in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to look good.
Right.
I think probably, if he wants to deflect, because Congress is going to come after him for this. There's going to be Congress members that are going to come after him for this.
Sure.
And if he wants to deflect, all he has to do is turn around and look at Congress and go, listen, you guys can't even agree that women should be part of selective service and they should be drafted. So let's not even talk about standards for service and just, tell them to go away.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way. That'll buy him some time. But I think this is a dead end road and he's going to have a hard time figuring this one out. And it's going to look bad.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is going on behind closed doors?
The service chief's the person.
Trump doesn't want any, I'm thinking between Trump and Hegseth, do you think this is going to cause any bad blood? I wonder. Because Trump doesn't want any missteps and missteps happening here and there. We've got, we didn't put it on our list, and so we won't really talk about it today, but maybe next week I would like to talk about it as I get more information. It's not really a little bit, but there's some RFK Jr. scandal brewing under the surface of things, and it's probably going to bust out loud relatively soon unless they're able to contain it and do something about it. But 2 potential problems, I guess we could say, in the administration, and this is a time where he really needs 0 problems.
Yeah, I think Hegseth is going to be his first firing.
Yeah, really? Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think, because I don't classify Stefanik. He asked her to pull her nomination for the UN ambassador, but he did that to help maintain control of Congress. Mm-hmm. Every seat's important at this point, and that's why he asked her to back out of that. I don't consider that a firing for poor performance or anything else, but I do think that Hegseth is going to be the first one to get fired in the administration.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bookmark this episode so in case I need to pull out that clip and do our "told you so."
Yeah.
Clay's, you haven't gotten them wrong. You've called them.
I'm lucky like that. I'm lucky.
Yeah, we'll call it luck. Sure, we'll call it luck.
Well, at least I didn't have to endure 25 plus hours of court.
Oh, come on. I mean, seriously, this guy. First of all, I generally cannot stand even the sight of him. He is such an arrogant, pompous, condescending idiot is what he is. I mean, that is the nicest thing I can come up with to say about him.
Yeah. And this wasn't even a filibuster. That's what kills me about this. The previous record, he was very proud that he broke the record, by the way.
Yeah. So stupid.
So stupid.
Mm-hmm.
The previous record was held because of filibuster.
Right.
That wasn't even what this was. This was marathoning, and it was grandstanding.
Yeah.
To talk about how he
stand for democracy.
Yeah, it's all, pardon my mouth, but it's all bullshit, right?
It is.
And by the way, it ended Congress's work for the week. They're doing nothing else.
Yeah.
0. They all went home.
Yeah.
After that disaster. So, he did it, like you said, stand for democracy, blah, 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 blah. Right. But, they had some things on the docket that they were supposed to vote on this week that they didn't get to.
Yeah. The whole thing is absurd. And I'll be honest, I don't know enough about that process to understand why they get to do that. Do you know? Because if not, I will find it and I will stick it in the show notes. Do you know?
I thought I did.
Yeah.
I thought I did. And it had to do with the filibuster. And that I get, that's kind of one of those, I'm going to talk until I'm blue in the face to make it painful for everybody so that we delay this vote as long as we can.
Right.
In the sense of maybe we can drum up some opposition. We can flip the numbers a little bit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This had
he was just doing it because he can.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. This one I don't get at all. So 25 hours.
And 25 hours.
And like everything else, there's some dishonesty in this because he had 2 other people that came up during those 25 hours that talked on his behalf, probably for a bathroom break.
Oh, but, right.
So he got a little bit of respite. But here's the other thing that nobody's talking about. Did you hear that his driver got arrested in the middle of all this?
Oh, I did hear that. Yeah. What the heck was that? Oh, because he brought a gun.
He was
right?
Unlicensed. Booker walked him around past security. He had a gun on him in the building. Oh, by the way, Booker totally anti-2A. Totally anti-2A. But, he gets armed security, illegally armed security inside the Capitol, and that guy got arrested. So again, it's more hypocrisy from the biggest hypocrites on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how typical, with their 2A stance, every single one of them, they're totally against it, but yet they're all protected by armed guards or bodyguards and everything. It's despicable. I remember that with what was her name? Beetlejuice there from
Lighthouse.
Yes.
Lightfoot. Lori Lightfoot.
Lori Lightfoot. Yeah, I remember that distinctly, that she had essentially taken an entire police detail out of impoverished communities and put them on, protecting her home because there were some threats against her or something. I
know some cops. I know a handful of Chicago cops, and she was the most despised woman in the city. And by the way, they knew all the dirty secrets. Her, Lori Lightfoot and her wife had knockdown, drag out, screaming, domestic violence kind of stuff going on in the mayoral mansion that all the police kind of, turned a blind eye to, kind of stuff. But they hated her. Absolutely hated her.
And I'm sure she was awful to them because that's like the other part of their pattern, that they have. It's just again, I go back to what I was saying about Cory Booker. They all have this arrogance to them, this, rules for thee, but not for me attitude. And
the Clintons did it.
Yes.
That's where it all started.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, because that's really, I'm thinking about it now, that's where I really remember it, seeing it clearly, that there was definitely this, I don't know, hierarchy of, or at least an attitude of hierarchy.
And I know some guys. I know some guys who flew them around. Personally know some guys who flew in the Marine Helicopter Squadron, that HMX-1. I think that's HMX-1 is the Marine squadron that flies them around. I knew some guys that flew there. I knew some guys who were White House comms during the Clinton administration. I knew one guy who was Secret Service, and they she hated them. She was
nasty to them, right?
Yeah, and treated them like complete garbage. So that's where all that stuff started. It's just been carried forward all the way through. Oh, by the way, we'll talk about this next week. There's a Obama book coming out. Have you heard about this?
No, this is new to me. I didn't know that.
It lays out everything, how he tanked or was aiming to tank Kamala Harris.
Wow. I can't wait.
We'll talk about that one next week.
Yeah.
I heard that this morning, but there's a tell-all coming out that that'll be very, very interesting. But it all leads forward from the Clintons right through even, I hate to say this, through Bush, right, through Obama, through Biden, it's all the same thing. And Booker and this guy, this security driver guy of his, it's the same thing. I do whatever I want. You're not going to hold me accountable, but they did. They arrested him.
They did. Yeah. They picked the wrong administration to be pulling that garbage.
Right?
Really? You think you're going to get away with that now? Maybe, last year you could, no problem. This is a new year.
Did.
I'm sure they did. Based on that, there's no question about it. No, they're all walking around with guns, on their hips and everything, unless if you were a conservative doing that.
Well, and listen, there are, I have nothing against that per se. I mean, there are conservatives who do carry in the Capitol, blah, blah, blah. This guy was not licensed. Right. He was not authorized to carry.
Yeah, that's the key right there. Yeah.
Again, it's the hypocrisy. They violated a bunch of security protocols and policies. And by the way, you've got a guy who's anti-2A stance on top of everything else. So that's the issue there. It's not about the guns, believe me. I have no issue with that. It's just that guy in that situation. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. We got a couple minutes left. Are we squeezing in this last one?
Yeah,
what do you think?
We can do this. This is folks. This is a big deal because the U.S. Is since post World War II, we have had an alliance with Japan, and Japan has been very content, very much like Israel, with a defense force, not a deployable, offensive-minded military, right? Israel has the IDF, Japan has the JDF. Part of that was post World War II, like, hey, you're not allowed to have a deployable military, right? So they haven't, and they've been very content with that. But it's they have a very advanced military. We have maintained U.S. forces Japan because it's a leaping off point for us in the Pacific, has been for years. Okinawa, other places like that. We've had Marine bases, Air Force bases. We have staged out of Japan for a long time. What we haven't had is a warfighting headquarters in Japan with eyes on China, which is exactly what this is. We are establishing a new, larger headquarters. And I say larger in the sense of, I think what's there now is a 2-star. I think they're elevating it to a 3-star headquarters with eyes on eyes on China. So if the Pacific does escalate, they can flow forces in. We can flow forces in. We've already got an established headquarters. Communications are there. All of those things are there, right? It's tied into the forces we've got in Korea and those kinds of things. So, and Japan's on board with this. Oh, by the way, if you guys don't know your history, the Japanese, the Koreans, and the Chinese all hate each other from centuries of conquering each other. And that doesn't go away in that culture. So Japan's on board with this. It's the first time that they have agreed or been involved in any type of offensive military mindset since 1945. So it's a very interesting. That's one to watch. I think it's good because the U.S. is now saying China is a priority,
right? Which
we haven't done as well as we should have over the last couple of years. So it's a big deal. It's a big move for our military to do this.
And of course, to state the obvious, the left is melting down that, they're going to cause some major full on conflict between China and us and all that stuff. They're sounding the alarms as usual. The panic bells are ringing. And I got to admit, I'm just sitting here going, nah, I'm not too worried about it. Trump's got it. Trump's going to handle it. It's all good.
Yeah. It's not something to be concerned about. It's actually, listen, folks, if you want to look at it this way, this is the exact same thing as having a 3-star headquarters in Europe, or a 3-star or 4-star headquarters, in Europe or in Africa or in, responsible for the Middle East. This is geographic, but it's focused on China. It's just precautionary. This is not a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, certainly we got a lot of things to watch, right? Lots of things. Pretty much everything we talked about, we're keeping an eye on. I'm now, thanks to you, I'm most curious what's going to happen with Hegseth as things progress and move along. But you probably have something there because, it's that 3 strikes and you're out thing, right? I mean, if he has one more thing go wrong, that could be a problem for him for sure. So I'll be curious to see what happens. No doubt about it. And we're going to have so many fun things to talk about for next week. We'll have the things that we don't even know about yet.
Yes.
But there's going to be stuff and things. There's just no question about it.
Yeah, it never changes. It always moves. We always get something new. I mean, we pinged, whatever the book, the Obama book. We're going to talk about that next week, most likely. But, there'll be 50 more things that we'll have to choose from. That I'll have to choose from on Tuesday morning.
It's on you. It's on you. Yeah. We'll see if RFK Jr. makes the cut next week. I technically don't even want to talk about it. I know I'm talking about it right now, but I technically don't even want to talk about it until there's just more information to talk about.
You're ahead of me on this one because I honestly have no clue what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. It's a little I don't want to call it underground, but I guess it's a little bit underground. So I'm hoping that it's nothing to be overly concerned about. I also, next week, we got to try and squeeze it in. I want to talk about the Daily Wire. This is very, very interesting stuff. So I'm sure it's not going anywhere. This story will be, if anything, it'll be bigger next week than it is right now. So.
Very nice.
So much to talk about, guys. We appreciate you, as always, hanging out with us. I know Clay already told you. I'm reminding you, we're recording on Wednesday. You're watching on Thursday. We'll be in the comments section watching with you guys. So be sure to engage and share with your friends, your family, your favorite liberal, whoever.
Invite them all.
Right?
Bring them all. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Clay, close them out.
Hey folks, we appreciate you. Appreciate you every week. We're glad to be back. 1 week off was enough, probably too much almost, but we do this for you and with you, and we really appreciate everybody tuning in every week. And as always, from me, keep moving, keep shooting.
Take care, guys.
Combat veteran Terry Davis left a life of violence for the quiet Midwest prairie, but a terror threat pulls him back into action. In Tampa, he makes allies and enemies as the danger unfolds. Relying on his combat-honed skills, Terry faces a threat far bigger than he imagined, unsure of who to trust. One thing is certain: to survive, he must keep moving, keep shooting.
Welcome to Chance, the series you'll fall in love with. Picture a small town so warm and inviting, you'll wish it were real. That's Chance, a place where laughter echoes through quiet streets, and every neighbor feels like family. Elsa Kurt's 6-book series captures the soul of small-town life. Follow the lives of 5 families as they weather life's highs and lows, love blossoming, friendships forming, hearts breaking, and healing in unexpected ways. These stories will wrap you in comfort, spark joy, and tug at your heartstrings. Each page feels like a heartfelt embrace. Discover Chance today. Find the series and all of Elsa Kurt's books on Amazon and elsakurt.com.